to another episode of Making a Comic. In this episode, we're going to be talking with Carson Taylor, very, very funny comic out of the Gulf Coast area, out of Mobile. He's a great friend of mine. I like him personally. I think he's a great comic. I think you guys are going to really love the conversation that I have with him. Couple of changes. So I'm going to be just doing the entire interview with the podcast instead of doing clips and highlights. I'm going to be cutting out some segments, probably get to the interview and that be the bulk of the podcast. This is where I'm kind of wanting to move this thing along as far as where this podcast is going. You know, maybe we'll bring the segments back here and there once I get better at them. Probably going to try and do some like man on the street kind of interviews. We'll see how it goes. But mostly what this is going to be about is me, a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, fairly new comedian, talking to good, funny comics that I have access to and getting some really good information about what makes them tick, how they get started, and pretty much just bullshitting from there. This is a really good conversation if you're a new comic. This is one where you can just kind of put it on the background and listen to while you're driving or working out or whatever it is you do while you're listening to stuff on YouTube. Don't tell me. That's fine. We're still going to do a rant. If you guys want to submit anything for that, please let me know. And thank you for joining. All right, so first thing, I kind of want to just put this out there while it's fresh in my head. I think we need to start having like social etiquette classes in high school. I don't understand how this has gotten so rampant. Like just the amount of douchebags and assholes that you just deal with on a daily basis is ridiculous. And like it's not like people don't know inherently that they're being an idiot or an asshole. I just don't think that they care. And like, we just got to start, like, call them out in public. Like, I am going to be on a mission. I pushed out today, but I'm on a mission from now on. Every time an asshole or a douchebag does something asshole-ish or douchebaggy-ish, call them fucking out. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, example, and this could be anything. Like I'm sure you've dealt with it in your lives. Like went to the gym waiting to jump in the pool. There's probably like 4 or 5 of us guys just kind of waiting on the sides, not trying to get in the way of people who are actively swimming, the people who are actually exercising, just, you know, waiting our turn as a normal human do. And this douchebag just takes off all of his shit. He's wearing a cute little Speedo, so, you know, he's, but whatever. He just cuts everybody, jumps right in the pool. As soon as somebody got out, didn't ask, didn't look around, didn't make sure that he was, and like what do you exactly are you supposed to do in that situation? Let me know in the comics. Do you, because I thought about like, okay, well, I was next in line and dude just went right ahead of me. Should I jump in the lane that he's in and just until he gets out, telling him like, dude, I was fucking here, sorry, or call him an asshole afterward? I don't know I tend to get a bit unhinged on that kind of stuff when it comes to like social, common courtesy kind of things. And I don't know why that bothers me so much, but it just does. And so let me know what you guys think. What would you have done in that situation? And like, has that happened to you where, you know, you're waiting in line at a grocery store, somebody comes right in front of you? Like because you feel like if you're going to say something, you either have to go like 100% or just not at all. Like you either have to be full on, yo, fuck you, buddy, or just let it go. Because if you come in half-assed, then you're just going to get steamrolled. Because obviously the dude's already an asshole. Why wouldn't they just steamroll you if you're being a pussy about it? But anyways, just thought I'd put that out there. Mandatory social classes in high school. Probably more important than algebra. Unless you're doing something specific. What the fuck are you going to do with algebra as an adult? I don't use it, but I'm also a fucking high school dropout, so maybe I'm not the best barometer for that. But social common cues classes, I think we should do that. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I think it's mandatory at this point. Here we have a clip of me doing a joke at the Kava Bar in Pensacola. Shout out Ryan Pfeiffer for always having multiple mics for us comics in the Pensacola area to go to. We'll work on our stuff. Dude's G. Let's check it out.
And that's not even the worst part about being Russian. It's the language. Like every time I hear somebody else speaking like French or Spanish, it sounds like so sexy. Dude, you don't get that with Russian. You know how you say "I love you" in Russian? Like the most romantic thing you can say to anybody is "I love you." You know how to say that in Russian? Я люблю тебя. You think I'm getting pussy with that? Are you fucking kidding me? God, I can't even say you're a pretty girl. You know how to say pretty girl in Russian? Тебя красивая девочка. And I know. What the fuck, right? Jesus. Yeah, I should probably say it's a joke, though. So not to like give you a peek behind the mirror or whatever, but I don't just run up to fucking women and I'm like, oh, baby, I can see my девочка. Do you want to fuck me? Yasha. See, come on, dude. Come on, give me a little bit more credit than that. Jeez. Oh my god. Yeah.
So right away, I can tell from the beginning that it's a bit wordy. It took me too long to get to what's funny about that. So just looking back, watching it again, I think I could cut a lot of stuff. Just get right to, um, the Russian words for things that are romantic. I think what I was trying to do is generate like the feeling that I have with that, like growing up, what I wished the Russian language would sound like. But I think that's also conveyed in the way that I scream out the words. That's kind of, and one of the things that I'm starting to learn as a comedian is that you don't always have to like go into full detail about explaining the emotions and the meaning and reasoning behind your jokes. Give your audience some credit in that they're smart and they will kind of either sense it or figure it out on their own. Um, and I think that's just like another added layer of being an audience member and being entertained by a joke from stand-up comedy in general is that, oh, I see where that guy's going, and you kind of can relate on a level with that. Um, One thing that I've learned, again, shout out to Ryan Pfeiffer, the way he described it was perfect, and the reason why I even like told this joke is that like if you try and picture your comedy and like your jokes as somebody that's a main character in a movie or a show or something, and then you can kind of generate like how to act as that person and how to convey what you're trying to from almost like a third person point of view. Because when I originally wrote that, I was gonna say, "Я люблю тебя," but the character of that joke that I was thinking is frustrated, so he's gonna yell that. Plus, yelling it does make it sound way less sexy, so inherently funnier. So I think that kind of gives it a little bit of legs and gives me room to play with. I can cut it down and kind of go off of that. So that's what I would do off my own critique of the joke. I do like the idea that this one girl in the front row over there of me just like hiding behind the bush or like hiding behind a wall somewhere and then just jumping out and screaming at women, "Ya люблю тебя!" Like that's what that's what I'm doing or my character's doing or whatever. That's fine. I want to try and like figure out a way to incorporate that to where I can use it. But yeah, that's the joke of this week. Let me know what you guys think as far as critiques, ways I can make it better, or if you just want to call me a fag, that's fine too. Thanks. All right, this is going to be our last segment before we get to the interview with Carson Taylor. We just have one quick ad read to do because we are a sponsored show, and today's sponsor is Pfizer. Yes, Pfizer. They have Travis Kelce and me. What can I say about Pfizer? Glorious, glorious company. Amazing. They do great work. Obviously, we all know how much help they did with the pandemic and getting us all this totally uncontroversial vaccine that everybody loves and has zero side effects. It's not poison. It's totally not poison. That's not what it is. They didn't railroad it through the FDA, and it definitely doesn't cause autism. It's totally safe for you to put into your children. So who would you rather trust, your own logic or the government, when they don't share a bed with the owners of Pfizer or anything? I mean, they didn't gain $4 billion in stock or anything like that since the pandemic. They're totally legit. Just take the shot. Take the word of these totally legitimate, awesome drug company professionals and play your part in America as a lab rat. So yes, we are sponsored by Pfizer. They are awesome. Definitely not a fake sponsor. We have no lawyers. Please, Pfizer, don't sue me for the 3 views that I get out of this. But yes, take the shot. Go Pfizer. Hurrah. Here's the interview with Carson Taylor. As Thomas Fenley would put it, one of the biggest names in Mobile. He is a very, very funny comic. One of the best that I've seen since I've been doing this. Very interesting guy. Check out his page. Follow him. Give him some support. I'm quite sure, that he's going to blow up any minute now, and he'll be a touring headliner at some point, hopefully sooner than later, so I can go rag on his coattails. And tell me what you guys think of the interview.
Hello, this is Carson Taylor.
Hello.
You may know him, you may not. If you're listening, doesn't matter. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing good. Good to see you. You've been doing all right. So tell me, just a refresher, tell me and whoever might listen to this a little about yourself and a little about like how you got started in comedy, and just have at it.
Okay. Well, I started doing comedy October 8th, 2014.
Holy shit, we didn't need to get that specific.
Autism. I was 20 years old, and so I got into it because my buddy Zeke Buckholtz in Mobile, he started doing it like a year before, and he moved all the way to Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. to start.
He went to Philly?
Yeah, like he did it like one time in Mobile.
Yeah.
And then he moved.
Like he was going to go make it.
Yeah, literally.
Shit.
And then he came back just sad and just like, you don't know what it's like.
Vietnam War.
Yeah.
You haven't seen the shit that I've seen.
Yeah, and then he found this place, the Blind Mule, that was doing stand-up comedy.
In Mobile.
Yeah, this guy, Ryan Jetton. He was running like most of the comedy, if not all the comedy in Mobile at the time. And, I went and probably saw Zeke perform there for open mic like 4 or 5 times.
You came to see him open mic?
I would just come and watch him and just like support. Sometimes I would film the sets for him.
Yeah.
And then he kept telling me, he told me for like that whole year, he was telling me, he's like, you should do it. I think you should do it. And I was like, oh no. And then so one time.
Had you already been performing in your band before then? Or
Yeah, I was already playing music.
Okay.
But like I've never talked into the microphone. I was afraid to sing. Like I did that just, I don't know what happened, but like as soon as I did stand up for the first time, it kind of like.
It's really hard to imagine you being afraid to be.
Oh man, I used to be so scared on stage. Like,
so what made you finally go up? Like, was it just Zeke convincing you, or like telling you're a pussy or whatever?
Yeah, well, so like one time we were at my grandfather's house, and I was probably like 19, 20, and he was like, let's practice, like help me practice writing jokes. So he was like, I think you'd be good at it. So he went into a room and I went into a room, and we spent 30 minutes alone trying to write a joke. And then we came back and performed our joke to each other. And mine was so dark and twisted and disgusting.
Do you remember the joke?
It was something about some horrible thing on the news about a kid getting kidnapped or something. And the joke was just awful. I don't remember what it was. And Zeke was even like, hey man, you don't have to be that upsetting.
That's the response you were looking for. Are you okay?
Yeah, I guess for the longest time, even my first 2 years of comedy, I feel like I had this thought of like stand-up comedy is supposed to be like, oh, it's comedy. So it's like I'm supposed to take all the worst things and make them funny. And I didn't realize you can just like talk about your pants and like socks and stuff, you know?
Oh my god.
Oh.
I just picture you guys telling each other sad stories and nobody laughing. You're like, this is gonna be awesome. We're gonna be famous.
Yeah, like, pretty much. Like, I talked to Zeke on the phone today about our band. Shropshire Collective.
I've actually listened to a couple of your songs. Yeah, it's not bad. I like it.
It's goofy, weird.
It's eclectic.
fun.
It's a lot of different shit.
We don't know what we are. We never have.
That's the same feeling I got.
Yeah, right?
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's it's fucking interesting. I like it, Byron. So keep going. So
It's not amazing, but I have fun doing it. You know what I mean?
I played. I was just like I was trying to find like YouTube clips of like the comics round, just like oh whatever, I'm a fucking weirdo, whatever. And then I saw like yours is actually connected to your Carson Taylor YouTube.
Oh,
Yeah. And then it just auto played for like 30 minutes when I was driving a mobile, and I was like, what the fuck is happening here?
yeah. But see, we're learning stuff every time though that we record and everything, so it's getting better. Like the stuff we're recording now is 10 times better than that album we just made. So we're like, oh shit. We were even like, should we have even made that first one? Or should we have waited? But we had fun. It was cool.
That's how I feel about every joke I do. But
Yeah. No, Zeke, Zeke kept telling me do stand-up comedy, and I was like, all right, so I finally signed up Wednesday, October 8th, 2014,
Okay.
and I had one joke, and it was about my shirt that I was wearing. Like I wore my joke, basically. It's just already just the hackiest, like if I didn't wear that shirt, there's no...
Did you immediately go into I look like a guy that does blah 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 to complete the hacky beginner comic?
It was a Cheech and Chong shirt.
Okay.
It was a shirt of Cheech and Chong sitting in a chair.
Tell the joke. Do you still have it? It's okay if you don't.
I think. Well, so the whole point of the joke was so I could get away with saying gay and retard. That was literally the whole point of the joke. I was like, that shirt's gay and retarded. This is basically the punchline because it was like a play on. I don't know. In my mind, it's like I'm the next Louis C.K. I'm gonna be so clever and on the edge and walking the line of right and wrong. People are gonna be like, "This 20-year-old kid is a genius." And it's like I got some chuckles, and it was enough for me to go, "That felt cool."
Yeah.
And then I started trying to actually write jokes, but it was still just like, I mean, her pussy was like, you know.
Wait, you had one. What did you do for the rest of the time on stage?
I think I did that one.
Did you just get off?
Yeah, I think I did like 2 minutes maybe my first time. It was
Not
like,
bad.
all right, good night. And I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember like your first couple times getting on stage? I felt like it took me 3 months till I could see the audience.
Oh my God.
Like in my conscience,
I literally-
it's happening.
I literally paused and forgot where I was and what I was doing because I didn't know the lights actually like blind you. when you're on there. I thought like, because looking at it from the audience, you feel like you can see everybody. You're like bickering back and forth. And you always like, the first thing I remember after I got, I was like, how the fuck does anybody do crowd work? You can't see anything.
Yeah. But then it's like after a while, your eyes kind of like adjust to that moment, and then you can see like
It took a while.
It took like 3 months until I was like, holy shit, there's people in here. Like I'm not just talking to myself.
Did you have anxiety when you were first starting about being on stage and like being the center of attention, or did it kind of come naturally?
I felt so that was the thing. I felt really comfortable from the beginning. I mean, I'm sure I did little ticks like kick my feet or like swing the cord too much because I was nervous that I probably, if I had old footage, I'd be like, oh, I'm an asshole for saying I was comfortable. But I feel like mentally I felt comfortable, but physically I was probably like, what do I do now that everyone's only staring at me? You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
But I threw up. Me and Zeke would both throw up because we would just travel together. And like if we got an open mic in Atlanta, we would just go together, you know. And we would both throw up before every set that we would do.
Like together?
So, no, yes, well, like one after the other sometimes, but it would be for like 3 years. Like the first 3 years, sometimes still now. Like if I get a show in a city I've never performed at before and it's sold out, I will still been doing this for 9 years and I'll still run to the restroom. They're like, hey, you're up in 10 minutes. I will puke.
No shit.
And then still run and get on stage. Like, all right, I feel better now.
When was the last time you puked? You're gonna puke at this show in March? What do you do for the skull one?
I might puke tomorrow for the Panama City or the Pensacola Comedy.
I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna watch. If you do it on stage so I can see.
Yeah, I'm still puking. The last time I remember puking was July 8th in Panama City. at
The Panama City show.
yeah, Jason hadn't booked me. God, I can't remember this place. It's like a backyard, and looks like a giant tiki hut,
You're
and it's
asking,
on
like,
the water. It's
dude,
just
I'm from Oregon. I
yeah,
don't
no,
know
just
what
so
the fuck
I wish I knew the name right now.
Yeah.
But it's a badass location,
Yeah.
and I went there, and I remember like it was like sold out, and it was a nice show, and then they're like, all right. So this guy, and then it's you, and I'm like, all right, cool. And I went to the restroom and just.
Then had a good set.
Yeah, I had a great set.
Great set.
No one would ever know unless I told them. Like people would think that was a joke. Like
Yeah.
I just threw up before I got up here.
I mean, you talking now about you nervous is hard to fucking fat. You look like, as all of the comics that I've seen, and this isn't me just trying to blow smoke up your ass. You probably look the most comfortable on stage with what's happening around you. So whatever you're doing is playing off good as far as like projection. I don't know what the fuck's going on in your head.
Projectile vomiting. It was the trick. You just gotta really spew whatever you ate out.
I'm gonna take a note. Projectile vomit. Get comfortable like fucking Carson.
Oh, but yeah, I don't. Well, so I guess when I physically started looking comfortable, like, and everything started kind of like feeling, because always like we talked about this, like
Yeah.
it's like when you, to me, it's like when you get to the point that you talk the same way that you do to your friends in the living room. It's
Yeah.
like when you start really finding your voice.
Yeah.
Because it's like the thing that makes people laugh at work, which is really the funniest you.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Mhm.
Is like when you can do that on stage, it's like that's when it's like you're chill. And there's still moments where things happen. Like if a joke bombs, man, oh dude, the sweat in my chest sometimes. I'm like, man, that killed yesterday. That's the worst part is when you get too comfortable.
Yeah.
But like, well, this joke always works. So you start just saying it that way, and then
And
it
it doesn't.
bombs, and then you're like, oh God, what do I do? I haven't been in this moment for a second. Like,
So when we were talking about this is something I actually wanted to get into with you. When you were talking about like finding your voice, whatever, I love the way you explained about like being with your friends and how you joke around then. So is that more of like a feeling or vibe that you get, or can you like actually explain how you act on stage when you're in that zone?
I really think it's like an energy.
Yeah.
Like there's just like an energy that like, or an aura or whatever that you shoot off when like you're in like your best moment of like being funny around your friends.
Mhm.
Like you're really being yourself and you're not afraid of anything because you're around people who aren't really going to judge you. You know what I
Right.
mean? And when you treat the audience that way, like when they know they're in good hands,
Right.
and you really don't care what they think anyway. You know what I mean?
It's like you're not talking at them, you're talking with them kind of thing.
Yes.
How do you like repeat that vibe though? Like is it like do you have a fucking ritual that you go through? Do you like try and hype yourself up? Like what is that? Because for me, and maybe this is a more complicated question than it needs to be, but for me it's like whatever the energy in the room is before I go up is how I feel when I go up, and it's so hard for me to get to the point where I can control the fucking vibe that's going on through how I feel.
Yeah.
Is that something you think about?
So this is gonna be so weird. This recently is how I started thinking about it before I go on stage. Is because like I just started noticing the energy. Like I guess I've always noticed the energy thing, but I guess as far as like I've only noticed it with other people that I'm watching. Or like now I've noticed it with myself. Like I can feel moments where like things are working or clicking with different parts of the room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can like, you know, you can just tell different things are happening.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like, so when I was 16, I went to go see the band Fish. Okay, this is the thought that like in the past like 2 weeks now, before I go on stage, I literally have this memory and tell myself this before I go on stage.
Can I interrupt you? What? This is how I feel like most of the conversations that I have with you are. I'll ask you about something, and then you'll say something that absolutely has nothing to fucking do with what, and somehow it eventually, like, what the fuck is Fish at 60? All right, but keep going. My bad.
So I went to Alpharetta, Georgia, like 2011. I was like 16 years old, 17 years old, and my dad took me and two of my closest friends,
Okay.
and we went to see Fish. And me and my friends ate mushrooms. We were like in the 10th grade. We were having a blast.
You were the cool kid. I got it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Not to, there's like football cool. And then also I dropped out of high school. Like there wasn't a lot of cool stuff.
Dropped out.
Yeah, I'm just on mushrooms working at Hungry Howie's at 17 years old. Like it doesn't get that cool, you know?
That's all right.
But if someone's like, man, that kid's cool, like they're dudes. But so we go to this concert, and it was the second night, and they got on stage, right? And I'm tripping my balls off. I'm a child, and there's like 10,000 people. They start playing the first song, and it's kind of like a light bluegrass song, and it's a beautiful sky. It was an outdoor venue. It's a beautiful sky, and then each song that they played, the sky got like grayer and grayer and scarier, and then it was like thunder and lightning, and they were up there ripping it, and the lights were going crazy, and then lightning like struck a tree behind us. Another tree fell down on top of the concession stand. They announced that there was a tornado like not too far away, and so 10,000 people are freaking out, and the band's still playing on stage. And they were playing this song that was like getting weird and creepy, and then they started saying that they had to leave the stage because there was a storm coming, and then they kept going like a storm.
This is a super villain origin.
Just making like the craziest voices ever, and like they were warping all of their music and everything, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then we got like the storm went away, and they came back up on stage, and there was just a moment through all that chaos or whatever that I made a decision in my head. Like that night, I was like, whatever just happened to me, I want to give people that feeling of like, it was such an experience. Like it made me fall in love with live concerts of any kind, comedy, music, or whatever, to just be like in good hands in that amount of chaos.
Because you trusted them.
Yes,
yeah, you're
exactly.
Like, these guys know what's happening.
And they were in control. Like I was convinced they made that storm happen with their music. I was like, it was a lot.
Oh,
But I was like, whatever that was, I was like, I want to do that to people. And that like that was the idea.
okay, so this is now how the fuck does that go from that to how you got comfortable on stage?
Because it just like
That's like the mindset that you get in. People are gonna be at my show, and no matter what's fucking happening, they're gonna trust me that this show's going in the right direction.
because they were well practiced, they were calm, and they knew what they were doing, and you could feel that throughout the 10,000 people, and like we were just having fun throughout this like we could die chaos.
Yeah.
And like it just made me realize it's like go up and mentally be in that control of like, you know what you're doing, you have done this, you can do this, and also you're here to give people an experience.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
And,
actually
like
really
that's kind of the mindset. And I know people hate fish, but you're wrong. You gotta go. And I know like you have to trip. I'm not gonna lie, it makes it better. But it helped me find my dreams. Okay.
One day Carson Taylor's gonna be saying this, and Fish is gonna be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
It was cool. And now I've seen them 17 times.
Have you really?
But I've never had an experience like that one. That one was like the craziest thing. Like,
So relating to you, what instrument do you play in your band?
well, I play a little bit of every. We all kind of play a little bit of everything. My main instrument's guitar, though.
Do you take anything from being in a band to better performing as a comedian? Is it just being on stage more? Anything like that?
I think that my jokes have a rhythm to it, and I think it's like a
You do kind of have like a
percussion-y
yeah.
kind of like. I'm big on like tapping with my hands and doing beats a lot, and I feel like sometimes my cadence of my jokes, like if you could play drums to them, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Randomly, I was talking about like you came up when I was talking about Ryan Fife because I asked him the same question, like how do you know when you find your voice? He gave a really good answer to it, but he was like imagine your comedy is a show and you're the main character, and like what would that main character do? He's like Carson Taylor. He's the main character in a fucking sitcom. I was like, that is perfect. You are a big. Did you grow up watching the sitcom?
Yes, I did.
Seinfeld, right?
No.
What?
I just started watching Seinfeld when I started dating Josephine. Like, I literally started watching Seinfeld 6 months ago. I've always loved to stand up. I never cared for the show. I'm one of those weird people.
I'm a Seinfeld truther, like fucking through and through. I love that shit.
Yeah, the show's amazing now that I've actually been watching. It was always just something, when I was a kid, it was like something my parents would be watching, and I'd be watching George Lopez. Like
George Lopez.
Dude, my favorite, so when I was growing up, my favorite shows were The Simpsons, George Lopez, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Okay.
I loved, you know, it's funny. I loved Roseanne and Cheers as a kid, but I didn't know why. And I go back and watch it, and I think it's all the brown wood.
Yeah.
There's something about all of that brown wood that you kind of feel at home, but you're a little bit like, is this haunted? Like, I don't. It's like that's why I'm watching it at 2 a.m. Like,
I love watching Cheers now just to see what the outfits were back then.
Yeah,
Fucking
the
camera, wearing full body suits.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild. Who are some okay, so I know you're a big Richard Pryor guy.
Yeah.
I know you're a big Patrice O'Neill. Who are some of the other comics that you grew up that like inspired you? Not inspired, but like you kind of copied or whatever.
I'd say the biggest inspiration on like overall would probably be Dave Chappelle because of Chappelle Show.
Yeah.
I started
Chappelle
watching that so young.
Hell yeah.
And then after that, I mean, huge Louis C.K. fan, and I'd say Doug Stanhope.
Doug Stanhope,
Also,
oh man.
I
Yeah.
love Stanhope is like maybe number one all time of none of it seems like it was pre-thought at all.
I'd say him and Dave Attell are
Yeah.
kind of that. Yeah, I like both. I don't know why I relate them to, but maybe it's the like surprise fucking punchline. But
Yeah,
fucking love
you have a very kind of a Telly style where your punchlines are like you don't see. It's like you want to guess them, but you don't get it right. Like yours is better than what I thought of. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
So like,
Yeah. My favorite. I wish I would remember the name of the album. My favorite comedy album is Dave Attell's first album.
oh, is that the one with your face here?
Yeah.
Skanks for the Memories.
Yeah, Skanks for
Yeah,
the Memories.
yeah.
I fucking love that one.
Snow Mexicans. It's like there's two words I could took from that album that always just make me chuckle. Like Snow Mexicans to myself.
Snow Mexicans is inherently funny. Big Opie and Anthony fans, both of us. Do you think a show like that could exist today, and why or why not?
I think yes, because there's so much now. Nothing's really under a radar anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where I think like back then, even just like 2006, 2007, there's really only 3 radio shows like that. So it's really easy to get in trouble when there's not that much to look after. Where it's like now you have 100 million podcasts where like Come Town and all these shows are saying all kinds of crazy shit. You know what I mean? So it's like you get a little bit of it everywhere, but I don't think there's anything like I don't think there will ever be anything like Opie and Anthony.
Right.
Because like it was a special time and like being in New York City and they had the live experience also and like bringing in the audience and all the comics of caliber that they had. It was just like, man, it was really.
Well, it just seemed like every time like there's kind of these like comedy cliques that like kind of stay together, and the opening and Anthony comics clique that they had was so fucking Bill Burr, Patrice O'Neill, Colin Quinn,
Bobby Kelly, Rich Voss.
Yeah, they were just all such good comics, and they all kind of were friends, and so I don't know, like for me it was kind of like a substitute for not having friends because I would travel and I just listen to them and pretend.
Yeah.
That's a little sad. But
well, then also the thing that was great about that show is you're getting them at their best.
Yeah.
Where it's like some of the like on stage they're already amazing, but now you're literally putting them in the living room where they can truly just dick around and be themselves. You know what I mean? So that's part of the reason why some of that show is like I would rather listen to that show than some of the stand-ups sometimes. And not to shit on any of the stand-up, it's just like they make me cry laughing with some of the conversations they have on that show, you know?
Okay. All right. So quickly, because we got to wrap up, let me do 2 quick questions for you. One quick question. Are you ready now in front of everybody to admit that highways our streets.
Oh my god. Okay, so
You fucking plebe, you.
I don't know who's gonna agree out there out of the 3 people that are gonna listen to this. I don't know who likes Yasha out there in America, but
I just want to get it on camera that you are fucking wrong about this, and everybody knows it.
I call interstates interstates and highways highways, and they're 2 separate things. I-10 is an interstate, and then if you go Highway 90, that is a highway. So if someone goes, well, just take the highway, I'm gonna go down Davis Highway.
No, you're gonna go on the fucking turn that has exits.
I'm not gonna go to the interstate because they're 2 separate words. Why make them 2 separate words if we're just gonna say fuck everything?
Yeah, but nobody in like common speak goes like, yeah, you're gonna like if I told you to find my house and I say, yeah, take the highway and get off exit 28. You are on the interstate. You're not gonna fucking do this.
Quietly in my head go, well, he said that wrong, but I know what he means because of exit 28.
We'll get this figured out. Fuck you, you're wrong. But anyway, last question. Where can people find you, and what are some shows that you're gonna be on in the coming month or whatever?
So you can find me at Carson Taylor Comedy on Instagram or Carson Taylor on Facebook.
For the 3 people that are watching.
Yes. I mean, I would like 50 likes and followers instead of the 47 that I have.
Yeah.
But yeah, Carson Taylor Comedy on Instagram, Carson Taylor on Facebook. If there might be other Carson Taylors out there, so look for this face. This is the guy. I think I'm on Twitter, but you won't get much out of me on there. I'm not. Or X, whatever it's called.
It is. I hate all social media, but anyway.
When the apps get better than the drugs and they're called the same name, it's just like, what world are we living in? Like, this is crazy. Have you ever done ecstasy?
I've done Molly. Is that the same thing?
I don't know. I look like such a degenerate. I'm like 30 years old. I'm like, man, it's psychedelics and concerts.
You should be asking this question outside on the street wearing pajamas. And I should be 16 years old.
I'm 7, like, man, can I get 60 cents? I'm trying to get some ass.
There's a scared mother just being like, get away from my kid. All right, thank you.
My son's ready for us to go. All right.
Thank you.
Y'all go. Appreciate it. Thank you, Yasha.
And there's the great Carson Taylor for you. Please join me next week when I interview my good buddy Compton Smith. And that'll do it for episode 2 of Making a Comic. Thank you for watching.